SPSS outputs, you're going to give me the exact probability. That is the preferred method of incorporating this information. If you are reading research articles, they are very, very, very likely going to use exact probability. So make sure you do that. Okay. On the other hand, if I gave you this, and you will see this as part of your, well, actually, I give you specific probabilities for that. So even in the learning check that you have associated with this, you're going to have exact probabilities. Whatever the probability is that you know you're working with, that's the one you put. If I don't give you anything other than 0.05, 0.01, you put that. If I give you an exact one, or SPSS gives you an exact one, that's the probability you input here. So this finding suggests that Westside residents demonstrate higher community engagement. How do we know it's higher? Because again, we calculate an average of 6.8 for our residents. That is more than the national average of 5.2. So volunteering an average of 1.6 more hours per month than the typical U.S. adult. That's really a catch for me. We're talking about in the U.S., let's be specific. If you're using the term American, that's quite literally both North and South America, and we're not talking about North and South America. This is specific to the U.S. I should have changed that. That's on me. Be specific when you are writing your results. Future research may explore the neighborhood-specific social and cultural factors contributing to this enhanced civic participation. This last piece here, there's flexibility here, because there may be implications that you see for the results of your data that are not exactly what I've written here. So really just this last piece is, what do you think are the implications of your research? Throughout the examples we're going to see in this presentation, I give you some sample ideas of what an implication can be, but there's no specific implication. It's kind of prompting you to think like a psychologist or a sociologist or a human behavior professional, so on and so forth. Okay, so the way that this is written is exactly what I want y'all to write. All right, so keep that in mind. Okay, so interpretation and implications. So the interpretation, this is really for us. We wouldn't include this as part of, reporting our results. It's already included in what you saw on the previous slide, so I wouldn't expect you to write this as a separate statement outside of reporting results, unless I specifically asked you, what are we rejecting the null hypothesis? Are we retaining? What is the significance? So on and so forth. I'll make that very clear. But the interpretation effectively is that since 2.35 is further from 0 than 2.04, we reject the null hypothesis, conclude that Westside residents show significantly different, higher, right? We calculated a higher average, community engagement levels compared to the national average. What are some implications for this? If we were doing this in class, I would actually pause here and ask you to think about it. But instead, I just gave you a couple ideas of what implications this kind of research could carry. And still, I encourage you to really think about this, because while this particular example is based on a sociological project, some of the examples that I present to you are going to be either sociological or psychology based. And it doesn't matter what your major is. I want you to learn how to think about implications of research at large. So some implications for this, as I mentioned in the previous slide of reporting results, that there could be local cultural factors that promote community involvement. Maybe this is a community that has a certain actual ethnic identity that kind of lends itself to a more desired sense of community engagement. Maybe that's something that is significant. There might be neighborhood-specific programs that facilitate engagement. Perhaps there's a community garden. Perhaps there's some sort of community-led effort around exercise or something like that, right? The idea being that there could be something specific to Westside that is promoting a community engagement. There might be socioeconomic factors that allow for more volunteer time. A community that has higher levels of socioeconomic status, which means there's more money, there's more affluence in an area, they may have more time to spend on community related activities. On the flip side, we could also think of it that maybe a community of a lower socioeconomic status is more likely to be engaged in community involvement because there's a higher reliance in terms of resources and support in other areas, right? So there's different ways that we can think about the implications. Finally, let's say that as researchers, our focus is, after seeing what's happening in West Side and they have a higher average, I'd really love to see if there's something that we can use from West Side as a model for increasing community engagement elsewhere. And so this could lead to policy recommendations that can be made for other communities that are seeking to increase civic participation. So there's different ideas, okay? All right. So now we are going to turn our attention to independent samples t-test.